I'm 81. My best friend confessed something on his deathbed that changed everything. My best friend told me a secret that reframed every major decision I'd made. My name is Arthur Weiss. 6 months ago, I learned the person I trusted most had been lying to me for 60 years. This lie changed the entire trajectory of my life. I met Dennis Morrison in 1962. We were both 21, hired at the same accounting firm in Philadelphia. Two new college graduates, starting at the bottom. We bonded over shared circumstances and similar backgrounds. We were both first in our families to go to college, trying to prove ourselves in a new world. Dennis and I did everything together. We got an apartment, went out for drinks after work. We helped each other study for our CPA exams. We were inseparable, brothers in everything but blood. In 1964, I met Claire at a party. She was beautiful, smart, and funny. I fell for her fast. We started dating seriously. Dennis was supportive, saying we made a good couple. Within 6 months, I was planning to propose to her. One night in early 1965, Dennis sat me down. He looked serious, troubled. He said he had to be honest about my relationship with Claire as my best friend. He claimed he'd heard rumors about Claire. Unfaithful, unreliable, not the settling down type. He said he wrestled with telling me, but felt I deserved to know before a serious commitment. I was devastated. I asked who said these things. He claimed multiple people, discreetly. He said he verified the information, sorry to hurt me, but couldn't let me propose. I confronted Claire. She was shocked, hurt, and denied everything. She begged me to tell her who, but I didn't tell her it was Dennis. I protected him, saying I'd heard things from various people. I broke up with her, saying I needed time, wasn't ready. She cried, but I held firm. Within a week, we'd ended it completely. I was miserable for months afterward. Dennis was there for me, helping me process, reminding me I'd made the right choice. He was the best friend, putting up with my moping and endless conversations about what might have been. About a year later, Dennis started dating Patricia. They got engaged quickly and married in 1967. Patricia was nice enough, though not particularly warm. But Dennis seemed happy. I eventually married Ruth in 1969. She was kind and stable. We built a good life. We had 2 sons. Our families became close, spending holidays and vacations together. Dennis and I stayed best friends through career changes, promotions, and layoffs. Through our children's graduations and weddings. Through the death of my wife, Ruth, in 2015. We're both old men now, or we were until 6 months ago. Dennis had been sick for a year. Last fall, he took a bad turn. Doctors said there wasn't much more they could do. He was moved to hospice care at his home. I visited him almost every day. We'd sit together, sometimes talking, sometimes just existing in companionable silence. One afternoon, a week before he died, Patricia and the kids stepped out for lunch. It was just Dennis and me. He was in bed, hooked up to oxygen, frail and tired. He asked me to come closer. I pulled my chair up next to the bed. He said he needed to tell me something before he died, a secret he'd kept for a long time. He was sorry, couldn't leave this world without me knowing the truth. My stomach tightened. He told me that in 1965, when he'd come to me with those rumors about Claire, he'd made the whole thing up. There were no rumors. No one had said anything negative. He'd lied because he was in love with her. I sat there staring, not understanding. He continued, his voice weak but steady. He said he'd met Claire before me, at the same party. He'd felt a connection. But then I'd swooped in, and she'd been interested in me instead of him. He'd watched us fall in love and been desperately jealous. He wanted her for himself. So he decided to sabotage the relationship. He made up the rumors, knowing they'd make me question her, poison what we had. He counted on my insecurity, and it had worked. I'd broken up with Claire based on lies my best friend told me. She'd tried to deny them, but I hadn't believed her. I trusted Dennis more. I'd let the woman I loved walk away because my best friend had lied to protect his ego. Dennis told me after we broke up, he'd tried to pursue her himself, but she wasn't interested. She'd told him she knew he'd had something to do with the breakup, though she couldn't prove it. She'd cut him off entirely and moved away from Philadelphia within the year. He said he'd felt guilty for a while, but rationalized it. If Claire wouldn't date him, then not me either. He told himself I'd get over it and find someone else, which I had. But now, lying in his deathbed, he couldn't maintain those rationalizations anymore. He'd destroyed my relationship with the woman I loved out of petty jealousy. He'd lied to my face, watched me suffer, and comforted me through pain he'd caused. He'd let me live my entire adult life, not knowing the pivotal moment was manufactured by him. He said he was sorry. He'd been a coward for 60 years, too afraid to tell me. He hoped I could forgive him, but understood if I couldn't. He just needed me to know. I sat there, not knowing what to say or feel. This was my best friend of 60 years. The person who'd been there for every major moment, telling me he'd sabotaged my most important relationship. I asked him why now. He said because he was dying, couldn't take the secret with him. It had eaten at him for decades. He needed to unburden himself, even if it hurt me. I asked if it was about unburdening himself, making himself feel better when it was too late. He didn't have a good answer. He just said he was sorry again. I left his house that afternoon and didn't go back. Too angry, too confused, too overwhelmed. Patricia called a few days later. Dennis asked for me, wanted to see me before the end. I didn't go. Dennis died 3 days later without me there. I went to the funeral. I sat in the back and listened to people talk about what a good man Dennis had been, what a loyal friend, what a devoted husband and father. I watched Patricia and their children grieve. I didn't say anything to anyone about what Dennis had told me. And I've spent the last 6 months trying to figure out what to do with this information, how to process it, how to understand what it means for the life I've lived. I loved my wife, Ruth. We had a good marriage for 46 years. We raised 2 sons who turned out well. We built a comfortable life together. I was content, if not passionate. I'd made peace with losing Claire decades ago, had accepted it as one of those things that happens when you're young, when relationships don't work out for various reasons. But now I know it didn't have to happen. Claire and I could have stayed together. We could have gotten married. We could have built a completely different life. My children wouldn't exist. Ruth and I wouldn't have had those 46 years together. Everything that happened after 1965 happened because Dennis lied to me. I've thought about trying to find Claire, to tell her what Dennis confessed, to apologize for not believing her 60 years ago. But what would be the point? She's probably married, probably has her own family, probably hasn't thought about me in decades. What good would it do to dredge up pain from 60 years ago? I've thought about telling Dennis's family what he confessed, about destroying their image of him, the way he destroyed my relationship with Claire. But again, what would be the point? Patricia is grieving her husband of 58 years. Their children are mourning their father. Why should they suffer? Because Dennis was a coward who couldn't live with his guilt. So I've told no one until now. I've carried this alone for 6 months, trying to reconcile the Dennis I knew for 60 years with the Dennis who lied to me about something so fundamental, and let me live my entire life based on that lie. I keep thinking about all the moments we shared after 1965, all the times he consoled me about losing Claire while knowing he was the reason I'd lost her, all the times we talked about relationships and trust and honesty, while he was hiding this massive betrayal, all the holidays and birthdays and graduations where he stood next to me as my best friend while keeping this secret. How do you process that kind of deception from someone you trusted completely? How do you mourn someone who is your best friend for 60 years, while simultaneously being angry at them for something they did that changed your entire life? I don't have answers to these questions. I just have the reality of living with them. What I do know is that I can't change the past. Claire and I didn't stay together, whether because of Dennis's lie or for other reasons that might have emerged eventually. I married Ruth and built a life with her. I have 2 sons and 4 grandchildren who exist because of the choices I made after losing Claire. Would I trade that life? Would I trade my sons and grandchildren for a chance to have stayed with Claire? I can't answer that. It's an impossible question that requires me to choose between people I love and a life I might have had. But I do know that Dennis robbed me of the ability to make my own choice. He manufactured a crisis in my relationship with Claire, based on lies, and then stood back and watched me make a decision based on false information. Whatever life I might have had with Claire, I deserved the chance to pursue it or lose it based on truth, not based on my best friend's jealous manipulation. And I know that the friendship I thought I had with Dennis for 60 years was built partly on a lie. Not entirely. We had real moments and real connection and real love for each other. But underneath it all was this secret, this betrayal he'd committed and never acknowledged until he was dying. I'm angry at him. I'm sad about what might have been with Claire. I'm confused about how to remember Dennis now that I know what he did. I'm grateful for the life I had with Ruth, even while mourning the life I might have had with Claire. I'm resentful that Dennis waited until he was dying to tell me, so I never got a chance to really confront him or work through this while he was healthy enough to face the consequences. All of these feelings exist at the same time, and I don't know how to resolve them. I'm 81 years old. I don't have many years left myself, and I'm spending them trying to make sense of a 60-year-old lie that changed everything. If you're keeping a secret from someone you love, someone you've betrayed or lied to, don't wait until you're dying to tell them. Don't use your deathbed as a confession booth where you get to unburden yourself while the other person has to carry the weight of what you've done. Tell them now, while there's still time to work through it, to repair what's broken, to make amends in some real way. Or don't tell them at all and take the secret to your grave. But don't do what Dennis did, waiting until the last possible moment, when confession is easy because you won't be around to deal with the fallout. I'll carry what Dennis told me for whatever time I have left. I'll die knowing that the pivotal moment of my young adult life was manufactured by the person I trusted most. I'll die wondering what my life might have been if Dennis had been honest, or if he just stayed out of it and let Claire and me figure out our relationship on our own. And I'll die not knowing whether to remember Dennis as my best friend of 60 years, or as the man who stole a future from me based on a lie. Both of those things are true. Both of those versions of Dennis existed, and I have to find a way to hold both of them at the same time. That's what I'm left with. The complexity, the ambiguity, the anger and love and confusion all mixed together. No resolution, no clean ending, just the messy reality of learning a truth too late to do anything about it. Dennis is gone. Claire is probably somewhere living a life I know nothing about. Ruth is gone too. I'm the only one left who knows the whole story, and soon I'll be gone as well. And then it will all just be history. A series of events that happen to people who are no longer here to care about them. That's what time does. It turns our dramas and betrayals and heartbreaks into dust. But right now, while I'm still here, it matters. It matters that Dennis lied to me. It matters that I lost Claire. It matters that I spent 60 years with a friend who kept this secret. It matters, even if I don't know what to do with it. Even if I'll die still trying to figure it out.